one.
Mike's and Takes and MVSP. We are back with our collab from the mock draft that we did previously. Now, today, we're going to have like kind of a reaction to the draft, and we're going to go over our picks, see if they compare to the actual picks, see if we were right and wrong about a few things, and things that might have surprised us during the draft. Your guys' initial thoughts about Joe Barrow going to the Cincinnati Bengals first overall.
I personally thought that was just a shoo-in. I know there was some parody before the draft of how the Dolphins had called, the Cincinnati to see if they could get that first overall pick. But I mean, ultimately, when you saw the graphics packages being ran in the format of the draft, I think you knew that it was going to be Joe Burrow all the way.
Yeah, for sure. Like, there's no way he wasn't going to be on the Bengals. Like, they told him earlier, and they sent a handwritten letter. I mean, come on.
Yeah, honestly, it wasn't really a surprise. Everybody kind of knew, especially off the season. He was coming off of 59 touchdown passes, only one interception, completion percentage at 76, breaking FBS record. I think he was the consensus number one pick, and I do think it's going to be a challenge at first. He even made a comment saying, "I've never been on a losing team ever in my life," so he's going to have to, try to change up a few things because it's going to be a process for sure.
Definitely. So did we want to go through our mock first? Is that what we're doing?
Okay. Yeah, I would say let's go through the mock and see how close we got. I think there were some surprises in this draft for sure, or at least in the first round.
I believe, Brandon, you had the first overall pick.
I did. Joe Burrow, so 100% so far. But it is clear that no one's going to be 100% after what we saw over the last 3 days.
Oh, for
That's
sure.
a fact. Yeah.
I did the second pick with Tua going to Washington. I kind of did that pick just to be an asshole. But also maybe there would have been a trade there. But yeah, so that was wrong.
Yeah. I think I had the third pick with Jeff Okuda.
Yeah, you did.
Can't go wrong there. I thought at first, at first I thought, I really wanted them to trade, but then it came out after the fact that there was no trading partners. So for, I guess, Bob Quinn to just, throw smoke into the entire draft, I thought that was just a way to play the media. I thought it was a smart way to just play into everyone's intentions of trying to trade up and get in that spot.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good pick. And I had the fourth pick, and the Giants ended up taking Andrew Thomas, who is downright. I mean, Georgia had two of the best tackles, I think, at least left and right, two tackles that were just absolute bookends for their offense. I ended up saying they were going to take was Mekhi Becton, which was a guy from Louisville who was also a stud. So I guess they just liked him better. I think they got a great pick. He's been absolutely durable for them. He's helped DeAndre Swift, who we'll get later into the draft, a Lion now. So he's helped him pave the way for him. I think they do a good job protecting their Daniel Jones, their franchise quarterback, and helping Saquon be more Saquon. So I think it was a good pick overall.
I had the fifth pick of the draft. I was wrong. I picked Justin Herbert, and obviously the Dolphins picked Tua. I'm not gonna lie, Gabe. If Tua was available, that would have probably been my pick.
Yeah.
I just thought if Tua were to actually get drafted that early, Herbert would be like the next guy in line, either him or Love. But I do feel like Tua's going to make a great impact. And Herbert, I do think if he would have went to Miami, he would have made a really good impact as well. It was like the next quarterback in line, so I figured I was going to be wrong about that.
Yeah.
The sixth pick, and I ended up doing my whole crazy suspense spiel with the phone call. Ended up picking Jordan Love, but basically I was all on instinct that we would not see Tua go at 2, and then he was going to drop to 5, and then I'd have Herbert at 6, which is ultimately where he was chosen the actual draft. It's still the Chargers got a quarterback to start kind of their revamp of their team here. Still, I got the position right, so I guess could you give me half credit, I guess?
Yeah.
Half credit.
I mean, this is a hard thing to predict for. It's even hard enough finding your right guy if this is your actual job. It's finding the guy who's going to bring you the most productivity and success to your team. So, I mean, it's easy to pick maybe the top 3, but once you get after that, it's kind of, I don't know, a crapshoot, I guess you could say.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so the next pick was Chase Young. That was me. I had Carolina picking Chase Young, and they went defense. In the actual, they got Derek Brown. I might have spelled his name wrong there on the graphic, but I mean it was pretty close. They were gonna go defense, especially with Brady coming into the division, and you got to get to the quarterbacks. You've got Brady, Breeze, and Matt Ryan in the same division. It's going to be a hard division to be in if you're on the defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was comp Derek Brown had drew comparisons to an Aaron Donald type player. I mean, you just see him at Auburn just throwing people around on the offensive line. He would definitely be a guy who gets in the backfield. He's just so fast. He's just, he's a little bit taller than Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald's only 5'10", so some of us are taller than him, even in this Zoom call right now. But, I think if we didn't take Okudah, the Lions, I definitely hope the Lions would have taken Derek Brown because, you're right, Gabe. At the end of the day, getting to the quarterback means everything. It's becoming a passing league. In some special cases, you run the ball like Tennessee. But in most cases, I think you have to either A, defend the pass, or B, get to the quarterback very fast in order to disrupt the passing game.
For sure.
I had the next pick with Arizona. They ended up choosing – well, I chose Tristan Wirfs, but they ended up choosing Isaiah Simmons, the linebacker from Clemson. I'm not really super surprised about this pick. I thought they were going to take Wirfs because, they wanted to protect Kyler Murray as long as they could, especially with those new offensive pickups. But I get why they chose the defensive side. They kind of got to build up that. They already have a solid offense already starting the year. But I think the defense was a little bit lacking. So I think that's still a solid pickup. But
I was surprised that, Isaiah Simmons – you said you had Arizona, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised Isaiah Simmons had fallen so far into the draft. I think – I don't know. You just look at a prospect that you can't really give comparison to. Maybe Derwin James for the Chargers, but just to look at a guy who has so much range as a safety, has the size to be a linebacker, and can even potentially be, if you're in a bear front, rushing off the edge. There's not too many guys in this draft or in previous drafts that have that type of ability and just durability. I don't know. He just is a different player.
Yeah.
He's kind of Jabril Peppers, but a taller and stronger Jabril Peppers, I guess, if you want to make a comparison. But I think they've got a steal.
He's a very good player. A lot of people thought the Lions should have maybe got him over Okudah, so I was shocked he fell so far in the draft. But like you said earlier, Barrett, usually after the top 3 picks, it's a lot of surprises.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's absolutely there were some moments that were chalk. I was kind of surprised the Giants even did that. I thought the Giants were going to take Isaiah Simmons. I was looking at writers that they didn't take him. I saw writers that are saying, hey, we could really use this guy in defense because they really don't have too many linebackers there. But, I understand what people do. They got to protect. You have to pick one side of the ball. So, I think the Cardinals get an absolute steal with Isaiah.
For sure. Before we go on to the next pick, I want to direct Barrett's attention to the chat. We've got Zombie saying, why is Barrett still allowed here after his terrible mock draft? Barrett deserves the Goodell treatment.
What?
Wow.
Okay, so I'm now just gonna log into the chat here because I had it going, but then it shut off. So I feel the love. I feel the love from the crowd. I try to do my best. I think we talked about this. I don't know if you just joined. It's a crapshoot. It's 50-50 game wherever you go. The odds are low to predict this whole thing. This isn't like March Madness. I think I have better odds of getting struck by lightning or hit by a car. So I think this is hard to predict. I'm getting boots right now, so this is bring them in. With that being said, though, I did have the next pick, and I did say the Jags were going to go defense here. I said they were either gonna pick Kinlaw, or they were going to go with some sort of defensive back, and they did that. I did not say they would get this guy, though. With the departure of Jalen Ramsey, I said they were going to either go Jeff Glendy, which was the cornerback from LSU. They ended up going with C.J. Henderson, who is an absolute stud from Florida. I mean, he played very well on a Florida team that wasn't that great. They've fallen off for sure, but I mean, many people have said this guy was, not as good as Okuda, but he was definitely up there in his ball skills and able to change direction. I think people liked him because he was like 6'1". I think that's a big factor. His wingspan is definitely definitely very good as well. So I didn't pick the position. I picked the position right. I just didn't pick the player right. So like Brandon said, half credit on that one. So stick it to the chat. That's all I'm trying to say.
You picked Javon Kinlaw. You said Javon Kinlaw.
Yeah,
That's a defensive tackle.
I have Jeff Glenny in my write-up. I know I said Javon Kinlaw, but I have Glenny in my write-up.
The write-up isn't what went out online, though.
Yeah.
I'll post it right now on my blog at bestgm.com.
That's such a great name.
Yeah, all right, give him a quarter. Just cut the half in half. Give him a quarter. Yeah.
Yeah, give me
25%.
Yeah, 25%.
That's still a failing
credit.
grade.
It's not bad.
Yeah, still failing, but.
So I had the next pick in the draft at 10, the Cleveland Browns. I was actually correct. I said they were going to draft Jedrick Willis. I hope I didn't mess up his first name too bad. I said they were going to draft him, and they did. This is somebody that they need offensively. Even though Baker can't seem to stop throwing interceptions, they still need somebody to protect him. I just feel like it was just the right guy. He had a great college career. I'm happy the Browns drafted him. I was correct about that, so I'm 1 for 2.
Nice. And then I had 11 drafting on behalf of the Jets, but I ended up saying they were going to pick Henry Ruggs, and that was kind of based off all the rumors that were going around. They interviewed him multiple times. They really liked, but I think they went with the ultimate, probably safer move in trying to protect Le'Veon Bell and Sam Darnold as they go with Mekhi Becton, which was a pretty solid pick for them. I kind of went more aggressive offensively than now that Robbie Anderson's gone and they need threats, but in the end, you can't really you can't create an offense and execute it if you don't have time to do so. So they go with Becton, which was probably overall the more smarter.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Gabe.
No, go ahead. You're good.
Well, like I said, Mekhi Becton was like one of, I thought, the best prospect. I think the only problem he had was I think he got off balance in pass protection. But other than that, I think there was definitely, I don't know, I think there was more upside. I think they get not a steal here, but I think they do get a good player for the value of the pick. And like you said, he needs to protect Baker's backside. So I think that was a good pick at all. You said, right. Yeah, Baker, right?
Yeah, so the next pick was mine. I had Jerry Judy going to Las Vegas, and I was half right. They picked Henry Ruggs in the actual, and that for me that was a bit of a surprise, but not really if you think that it's the Raiders and they're going to pick the fastest guy. I saw somewhere that since I think 2000, the Raiders have picked 30% of the draft picks that have ran a 4.3 40.
Yeah, so they're all about speed. Yeah. And honestly, I think you would have been right here. I don't know why they don't pick Jerry Judy. I think I understand the aspect of having speed on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, if when we get deeper into the show, we'll overlook all of the picks from each team, but they definitely loaded up on weapons for Drew Lock. They've drafted multiple wide receivers, so I think they did a great job for the offensive side of the ball. I'm not entirely sure how good they did defensively, but Gabe, I think you should have been right here in all reality. The Raiders have just been a curious team, to say the least, going all the way back to drafting Darius Hayward-Bay, who was an absolute reach, back in forever ago. So I just don't think – I don't know. I just don't think I don't think you should be wrong here. I think they definitely should have taken Jerry Judy, though, but I understand getting the burner.
I had the next pick for San Francisco. To be honest, I thought I picked Jerry Judy, so that's what I wrote down. But obviously I didn't, and I forgot who I did pick, so that's my bad. But I mean, they went with Javon Kinlaw out of South Carolina, but that's a really good pick. I mean, their defense was all about kind of rushing. They had Nick Bosa as one of their main guys. He was a big rusher, and Javon Kinlaw is going to do really good. I mean, he's already shown he's a really good interior pass rusher. He's got that quick first step, and I think he's just going to be really good. He's a really good pick for them.
No, I think that's a good pick for them. They already have, like you said, a dangerous group of what they call them hot boys. It's their defensive line group. So,
something like that.
Hot boys. So I think that's going to be a dangerous piece, already part of a already productive line on the defensive side of the ball. So I think that's a great pick for them.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
All right. Who had the next one? That
would be 14.
Oh, that was me. I'm dumb. Sorry.
You're good.
I didn't know it. He didn't say the numbers. I didn't know. So I said they were going to pick. So I said they needed an offensive tackle. I think I'm pretty sure I was right on this one. I'm looking at the stream delays. I said they were going to pick Jedrick Willis, who the Browns just took a few picks ago.
you said Mekhi Becton.
I did?
Yeah.
For 14?
You did.
I have it literally sitting.
Jedrick Wills went at 10 to Cleveland in the mock.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I said. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But yeah, wait.
Yeah,
in the actual or not in the actual?
I picked him at 10 in the mock, and he went 10 in the actual.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So he just went a little bit ago. I have Jedrick Wills written down. What do you have written down? Mekhi Becton? Okay, great.
You picked Mekhi Becton.
Okay, well, I have Jedrick Willis sitting in my Google Doc.
Well, it's wrong.
Someone hacked my Google Doc.
Either way, though, same position, but that's not what ended up happening either.
Right,
way.
Same position. That's not what ended up happening. I mean, I thought, I think you can all rank these tackles at the same. I mean, there's some guys who are better at run sets. There's some guys better at pass sets. So I think either way, you had to worry about protecting Brady, especially with him not being as mobile. Like I said last week, I think this is a good pick for the Bucs. I could have swore I picked a guy from Alabama, but you don't know. So yeah, that's what I went with, and yeah, moving on.
All right, so in the 15th pick for the Broncos, I had them picking Justin Jefferson, and I was wrong. They drafted Jerry Judy. Great draft pick. I just thought Jefferson was going to be picked just because of his skill set. Not saying he's better than Judy, but I just feel like deep ball, I feel like he's more of a threat, runs a 4.3, over 10 touchdown receptions last year and over 1,200 receiving yards. I know he had Joe Burrow, but, he was a really good player. And I just felt like he was going to be the pick. But Judy, obviously, is a great pick for the Broncos. Drew Lock has another guy he can throw to. So it was just a really good pick by them, and I was wrong. I'm one of three.
Yourself half credit for that one.
Yeah, half credit.
Yeah, half credit.
Yeah, but I believe the next pick was mine, right? 16.
Yeah,
16.
Yes, and I had Derek Brown falling that far, and that I just picked him based off of he was the best available at that point when we were making these selections. But they ended up going with A.J. Terrell, which was kind of a little bit surprising, but just because he's a lot lower on a lot of the draft boards. But I mean, they obviously want their guy. They lost Desmond Trufant this offseason to the Lions, ironically. But they're just trying to rebuild their defense. Obviously, their offense is starting to kind of get reshaped, adding Hayden Hurst and Todd Gurley in the offseason. But they still need a little bit of help on the defensive side, and the secondary is probably going to be the part that they're a little bit more on the weaker side right now. So they go out and get their guy they want at corner, which is a pretty good.
For sure. And they also added Dante Fowler as well. So when they added him and
Yeah, that's right.
the guy in the second round, I forget his name, I think they've done a good job shoring up that defense. At least to make it not the worst in the league.
Yeah, there's definitely improvement. Definitely improvement on that end. And that's what some people did. I mean, there are some teams this year that went all defense, and I can't fault you for that. But you also need to have someone you can have in the wings on the offensive side of the ball, whether it's like a back, a lineman, or if you're trying to groom a tackle left or right. I understand your philosophies. Each team is different, but yeah, I think Atlanta did an okay job, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah. So I had AJ Epinesa going to Dallas at 17. In actuality, they chose CD Lamb, which is, I think, a great pick, especially if they actually, sign Dak. But either way, they've got CD Lamb. They've got, what's his name? The other receiver.
Amari
Cooper. They've got
Michael Gallup as well.
You have Gallup there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott. They're going to have a good offense.
Yeah, they definitely have some weapons. I thought, like, I just don't know how people couldn't have taken CD Lamb. I know Ruggs is probably the fastest. Jerry Judy, Jefferson are two big down the field play guys. But I thought CD Lamb just overall was probably the top wide receiver in this draft. You could maybe make an argument between him and Jerry Judy, but I'm just I don't know. I'm just surprised how people had fell in this draft. It was very interesting. I mean, the whole format was different, of course, but
yeah. And I think a lot of people went with the quarterback and the tackle like the first half.
Yeah.
Like that's almost every other pick. And then it was just a run on receivers. But yeah.
Yeah. 27 receivers were drafted in the first and second round. That was it's crazy. It was actually the most in the last 7 years.
Yeah, it was.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and they said this was one of the deepest wide receiver classes in a long time, and I think rightly so. You have to look at the first and second round, like you mentioned, Travis.
And how many receivers did the Packers draft?
0.
None.
And
which is tough.
Yeah, that's tough.
But
one thing I wanted to say about the Dallas pick, about the CD Lamb, I do agree it's a steal, and this should really – they have no reason not to make the playoffs now. You have all the weapons. It's just really about getting Dak paid and him performing for the money that he wants.
For sure.
The real question is you have to make sure that obviously whatever Dan Orlovsky says is not necessarily always right, that they should have picked defense here. CeeDee Lamb was there for the taking for that situation, and I don't know how you can pass on a guy like that. Plus, you got so many corners that are going to be taken in the second round. You can always have a fallback for – but – I mean, you're absolutely right, Travis. This offense has no excuse now to not perform. They got all the weapons they really need. Hopefully the defensive side can get fixed so they can at least stop some points. But in all, they still need to make the playoffs if they want to keep this going. I think this offense has the power to do that. It's just going to be a tell of the tale if the defense does the same.
I definitely agree with that. That's so true.
I think I had the next pick. With the Dolphins, I think I chose Xavier McKinney, but they ended up going with Austin Jackson out of USC, the offensive tackle. It was kind of a basic pick. I wasn't super surprised about it. They kind of needed it on the offensive side because they already had a pretty good, I guess, the repertoire on the defense side was already good with the pickups that they had, so they kind of needed someone to protect Tua already. But just what did you guys think about that?
I think that's what you have to do if you get a young quarterback. You want to make his life as easy as possible. Either you get him a stud receiver or you shore up the offensive line. So It was definitely interesting. I know people because he's a right tackle. Austin Jackson, who doesn't play baseball for the Tigers, but he's a right tackle, and everyone was like, "Oh, why are you picking a right tackle?" Well, many people forgot that Tua's left-handed, so his blind spot is different from a right-handed quarterback, obviously. But I think people were kind of like, "Oh, why are we doing this?" And I thought it was a good pick for them because that's what you have to do if you get a young guy in. Hardship and adversity can kill someone's career, especially if you're a young guy in the league. So I think it's a great pick for them.
I think I agree with you, Barrett. It's a great pick because you need to protect Tua, and obviously we know he's injury prone, so that's the main thing is protecting him. And a guy like Austin Jackson having a great career at USC, this is what they need because the Dolphins are always bottom 5 in allowing sacks. Their quarterbacks to get hit. Ryan Fitzpatrick and other quarterbacks, they hate it there because they're always getting hit. So this is a start of something, and they do need some more linemen moving forward too.
Yeah, and you also have a plethora of picks behind you. You got another one in the first round, I believe 2 more in the second round too. So you got plenty more picks to make playmakers, and obviously Tua his health should definitely be considered number one priority considering.
Yes.
That was 18, right, Joe?
Yep, and now we're 19.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have 19. I had the Raiders, and I have it written down here. So if it's different, I have it written down that they took Jerry Judy.
No.
God, what did I say? All right, what did I say?
C.J. Henderson.
Okay, yeah, I did have C.J. Henderson, but they ended up taking what is it, Damian Arnett or something like that. Yeah, not that great.
Yeah.
He's not that good. I watched.
No, absolutely not.
Not that good at all. I have no idea how he made this into the first round. He has totally bamboozled the Raiders. Mike Mayock either has a hard-on for him or something other because he was, as a Michigan fan and a Big Ten watcher, I completely understand why you may think this guy's good, but this guy I think he's penalty prone. I don't think he's undersized. I have no idea why they picked him. They showed all of his tape when he got picked. He did not look, he's grabbing the back of the jersey. I mean, he's getting beaten off the line. I mean, he's not jamming at the line whatsoever. I think the only plus he has is he comes down and makes a tackle to stop the run, but like we said, I think it's more of a passing league. So I have no idea why they did that. I think if CJ Henderson was here, I think they would have picked CJ Henderson.
Yeah,
I totally agree with that. I think Damon was taken way too high, and I looked at some of the draft grades after the first round, and his by far was the lowest in the D. And you got a guy like Jeff Gladden who's going to get taken later. He's still on the board. And you could even take Xavier McKinney if you kind of want to flex him in like nickel situations or anything, and still you could put him at safety or corner even if you want to because he's capable of. But instead they take Damon Arnett. So obviously Mike Mayock and John Gruden just really, really think they can use him as a benefit. So it's going to be time to tell if this is going to be a great pick or it could be one of the busts in this draft.
Sure.
Yeah,
However,
I thought it was weird.
The upside of that is we got to have great footage of him celebrating being drafted in front of an adult toy store, which was pretty funny.
Yeah,
that was.
Yeah, that was one of. There was a lot of. If you want to take a break from us doing our predictions, there was a lot of stuff that was definitely out of the ordinary. I mean, you have Jerry Judy having him rip his phone away from his girlfriend while he's on the phone with his coaches. Yeah. So that's a little suspect. I mean, we have the Patriots, like, before they traded down, had Bill Belichick's dog on camera just sitting there.
That was the number one moment, in my opinion. That was the funniest moment.
I know the Mike Vrabel part was probably
Mike Vrabel has
that was pretty good too.
That was hilarious.
His son is Joe Dirt, and then his other son is like Frozone from The Incredible.
And the other guy is taking a dump in the reflection. It's great.
Yeah, I think he knew what he was doing. Like Vrabel had definitely went through like 3 cans of tin of spit and the chew. So I definitely think like he was just like pounding away at a spitter, and he's just such a gritty guy, I guess you could say. But yeah, there's definitely some interesting stuff. Isaiah Wilson's his mom ripping off his girlfriend.
Oh
while
yeah,
he's getting
that was
drafted.
crazy. Yeah,
Dude,
she
like, there is just some
she,
crazy things.
she just like used like a swim move, like she was like
Yeah,
him.
to like get her off. It was weird.
Uh,
What did you guys think of like Goodell? What did you guys think? Did you guys think he was just like absolutely ripped like throughout the entire night? Like I
There
thought he
was
was
a
just
there was a
Yeah.
picture I
mean,
saw, like where it was like throughout the night, and it was just like him standing up, going to like gradually him not looking like he's carrying anymore.
oh my god, yeah.
He
It
probably
was
was
like
so bored.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like with every pick, I don't know if how many of you watched the entire draft, but like there was times where like they would make a pick, like they're like, oh, and with this guy's pick, congratulations. But also, their father had passed away from traveling on
Right?
tripping on gravel
Yeah.
and into a busy street.
it was all
Like they had reached for a traumatic event.
Yeah, I didn't understand that at all. It was like every time he like was saying a player got drafted, he would just say some random fact that nobody is thinking about. Like nobody would
Yeah,
like come,
like-
like only him. And I don't know why. Like I got this weird vibe from him, like he missed being booed or something. Even though they still like show the graphics.
He asked
like,
for it. Yeah, he asked for it at
Yeah,
the start.
like-
He was like, "Yeah, boo me, boo me."
Yeah,
Like people were like, "Oh,
yeah.
we're supposed to boo him."
I
Yeah.
don't know,
Yeah,
I
if
feel
you
like
endorsement too, every boo
Yeah.
on Twitter was gonna raise money though. That was the best part. Is he knew
Yeah.
everyone was gonna do it, so why not do it for a good cause?
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I
Definitely.
But
just
it's
thought
like,
there was some
if you
weird
think
stuff.
about it,
Yeah, definitely.
like you have to be on for 5 hours straight, and you got to be presenting yourself. And I don't know how much you guys know about music, but like if you think about Iggy Pop and the Stooges, like there was a lot of like animosity between him and the crowd, but he said that even that negative energy helped fill him with energy, and he bounced off that energy back, and it became like a resonance chamber of energy. Now he doesn't really have anyone to give him energy or
Right.
anything. He's got to be on by himself, in maybe his family's there, maybe, but like I could see there's a reason why he's probably tired. He doesn't get to go off stage and have a drink of water for a couple minutes. It's
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
situation.
was
This is
so-
nonstop.
Yeah, he was just so awkward. Like throughout the night, like he had, he'd turn around every time they come to a pick. He'd be like, "All right, come on, folks, like get the energy
Yeah.
up," and it'd just be so awkward. After they showed one montage of like someone, it looked like he had just like did a line of coke because like his eyes are just red. I mean, he's like profusely sweating throughout the night. He's changing his clothes, and then sitting in his comforter for or his like lazy chair. He called it his lazy chair for his like the last like 10 picks. It was just so weird. Like
He probably had like a few drinks in the system trying to get like his mind
something.
ready. 'Cause, like,
I just don't know
agree.
how you speak worse when you're by yourself in front of a camera as opposed to in front of like hundreds of people at a draft on stage. So
Yeah.
maybe you're right, Gabe. Maybe there is some like a negative energy that somehow helps him perform better. But I mean, it was just once he got off my screen, like I was kind of okay with that because it was just awkward. Like he was trying to hug people through a Zoom call. Like
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I
just
mean,
weird.
That's
Like,
why
it
I
was
watched the
weird.
Pat McAfee stream.
yeah,
Pat
was
McAfee had
different.
such a better stream. Like
Yeah.
I was laughing every other minute. They were so funny.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, because like there probably wasn't talking about death every pick. Like
No,
It was different, like for obviously everybody because it was something new. But yeah, Goodell definitely didn't like. I don't know. He was trying to like. I think his message. He was trying to be more entertaining. And it just turned out to be like more cringy. It was just like,
yeah,
Yeah.
trying to be like
fellow
relatable.
yeah, but
You.
man,
Yeah, even like did you guys see the Eisen had his like draft-a-thon where he had like different like celebrities and like players come on? I thought that was a lot more funny. Just like Kevin Hart and Tom Brady taking shots at each other over a Zoom
Yeah.
call. Where
But yeah,
it's just like
that was way better because like
oh,
there
yeah,
was,
that was hilarious.
that was the funniest bit they played because they played that on ESPN like where Russ and Brady are talking about hey why is Russ in a like a RV zooming right now and
Yeah.
that was the funniest bit and they played that like 3 times like they just didn't have anything.
yeah.
I mean props to Trey Wingo though like that's got to be one of the hardest jobs right there is to keep
Yeah.
energy. Because there is so much delay, just with like you had 8 different people, I think, like on a Zoom call, and you're trying to get everyone to talk about stuff. There was definitely some long, awkward pauses, but I think he did a great job maintaining his composure throughout the whole draft.
Yeah, and especially for it
agree.
not really being scripted either. That's
Right.
even harder.
Yeah, a lot of it was, freelance, like improv. So they did it. I feel like overall it was good, like with what they were, up against. They made the most out of the situation. But looking back, there was obviously a few things that could have been handled differently.
Yeah. I mean, when have you ever been able to practice this, though? Like, this is –
Yeah.
I can't imagine it's going to happen like this next year. But
I mean, a year ago, like when the draft was happening in 2019, everybody would have laughed. We said, yeah, in 2020 we're going to do it virtually on a Zoom call.
Mm-hmm. I thought they did a great job with technology and getting cameras out to people. Now, draft parties did look sad. I mean, it didn't seem like Okuda's family was pretty happy about stuff. Like when Tua got picked, he was just like. He didn't. Joe Burrow, who's even the first overall pick, like he's giving his parents one-arm hugs, and then they put the Bose headphones on, and then, it was just weird. Like I enjoyed because I needed that in my life. Like as a sports fan, I needed the draft. I'm only hanging on to the Jordan documentary, so it's either that. So I thought it was great. I mean, the ratings were phenomenal for the draft, but it was definitely an interesting experience. But I thought they did a good job with it.
Sure.
Overall, definitely. Sure. And if there's no more other thoughts, we can go to. I believe we're on pick 20, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Yes.
And that is me. So I had Trevin Diggs to the Jaguars, and I was wrong. The Jaguars ended up getting I can't really say his name.
I think it's pronounced Clavon.
Clavon.
Yeah.
Cason? Okay. I do know he is a great player from LSU. This one was like kind of a wild card for me because I was actually thinking about either him or Trev or Diggs that I was going to draft. But overall, it's a good pick for the Jaguars. It's something that they need moving forward. And really, they're trying to get back to the team that they were when they made the AFC title game back in the 2017 season. And they actually only have 4 starters from that team. So it's still kind of a rebuild. So I do think it's a good pick for them. I give myself like 25% of the credit.
I don't know. I've heard a lot of people compare him to Vic Beasley. And, like, he was all right on the Falcons, but he's had a steep drop-off, and he's never really been amazing. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I didn't think this was I know he was ranked the top linebacker, I believe. He's an inside-outside guy, right? Like, so he could play more of inside. Or I guess he's an outside, but, like, I can see him. He's big enough to play inside. I thought, like, Kenneth Murray out of Oklahoma I think he was better. He ends up getting picked in this first round. But I thought he was better than Chase Young for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so for 21, who's got Philadelphia?
I had Philadelphia, and I got half credit. I said they were going to take T. Higgins, wide receiver out of Clemson. They go in a different direction. They take Jalen Reagor, receiver out of TCU, which I'm a little concerned what exactly they're going to use him for because he's a little bit smaller than T. Higgins, doesn't have as much of the playmaking ability. But, I mean, he's still a great football player nonetheless. But I think they kind of had the mindset that they were going to make a trade with a receiver in after post-draft or during the draft or whatever, because it seemed like they weren't as hesitant to go towards the big receivers. They weren't going to trade up because we knew that was one of their biggest needs right now, but they ended up getting Marquise Goodwin in a trade, which we can talk about later. But Jalen Reagor still, he's a great football player out of TCU. He's still going to be a great player, but overall, it's kind of interesting they didn't take T. Higgins just for the size, because I mean, really the only other sizable receiver they have is Alshon Jeffrey, who is a little injury prone, we could say. But still, it's a great pick, and we can't really judge on if this was a terrible pick or a great pick just because we haven't seen them in action yet.
Yeah, I thought Reagor was a good pick for them. The problem is he has the comparison of Nelson Aguilar, who is hated in Philadelphia. Like, he doesn't. His problem is drops. That is his only issue. And for a guy who you already had or have is Nelson Aguilar, for him to share the same problem. I just don't understand it. I do like him. Jefferson was still on unless I'm looking at a wrong
Yeah.
sheet here. Jefferson is
Yep.
still on the board, right?
Yeah,
So
he
you
was
could have
picked.
taken Jefferson, who is a stud. In my opinion, I thought he was
Absolutely.
good. Like I know he had Joe Burrow, like you said, Travis, but I thought he was, a big body, can still run. I thought that was what you really should do. The Eagles in their first two picks definitely were confusing, to say the least.
Yeah, especially the second one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I guess we'll see how Rhaegar does.
Yeah.
The only problem is his drops, but
I definitely agree with you. Jefferson should have never dropped that far in the draft. As you know, he's a deep ball threat, so that one kind of confused me too. But obviously, during a draft, you never know what to expect.
For sure. All right, I think I had Andrew Thomas at 22 going to Minnesota, and they picked Justin Jefferson. Which for me, I think that's a much better fit. And with Stephon Diggs going to Philly, they needed another wideout threat, and Justin Jefferson, for all the reasons we've already mentioned, does that.
yeah, you're right. They lose Diggs. I kind of, as a Lions fan, I'm kind of pissed that he went to Minnesota. I guess we have a CUDA to lock him down, so I'm not too upset. But I was just praying that Jefferson was going to be out of our division. But I mean, if he's going to be in the NFC North, I guess we'll have to get accustomed to the cold.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing. But you're right. I think that's a great job by Minnesota. They lost wide receiver, might as well get one back. So
I feel like Minnesota and Detroit have more of like a respectful rivalry than Detroit versus Packers or Bears. Like I always know them as kind of like the little brother franchise. Like I root for them if they're not playing the Lions. Like they're a fun team.
Oh yeah, for sure. But we definitely can't stand the Bears or Packers.
No.
Yeah, for sure.
FTP.
Yeah, absolutely. So.
Definitely. I had the next pick. I had the 23rd pick. Patriots ended up trading it away to the Chargers in exchange for a second-round pick and a third-round pick. They ended up going – I had the idea that they were going to choose Jalen Hurts when the Patriots had the pick, but when they traded away, Chargers decided to choose Kenneth Murray, the inside linebacker. I didn't really look too much into this pick too much, but I think it's still a good one. They want to probably just even out those picks that they already got with Herbert on the offensive side, probably trying to get something else going on the defensive side. But, that's about it.
The Chargers defense was amazing last season, too.
Yeah, I was definitely kind of shocked by it. New England trading away, but this was a good trade for the Chargers. This is what they need after going 5-11 last year. It was obviously very disappointing, and they're just trying to fix everything, not only offensively but defensively. So it was a good pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I had the next pick with the Saints, but obviously the dog, Bill Belichick's dog, Nike, traded away the pick with the Chargers. He's sitting there at the helm, obviously. So I understand he probably traded away for some dog treats and maybe a new dog bed, but that's totally beside the point. But I think I had the Saints with the next pick at 24, and I don't know what I said. I don't really remember what I said. I think I knew they were going to take they want to take Kenneth Murray because I knew they needed a linebacker. So I think if this trade doesn't happen, I think they still do pick Kenneth Murray. They definitely end up getting a linebacker in the second or third round with Zach Bond. So I'm totally fine with this. Who did they end up taking? My computer is
Cesar Ruiz.
Cesar Ruiz, that's right. The guy who wanted to give Goodell a hug through the Zoom call. So that was really awkward. That's a Michigan guy who was a solid, absolute anchor. He was a center at Michigan, so a real stand-up guy. He's been with the program all 4 years, so I think that's a great pick for them. They get an absolute smart guy, a good character, and a potential leader in the locker room in New Orleans.
Absolutely.
I agree. And with the 25th pick, I had the Vikings drafting Jeff Gladden. but they ended up trading the pick to San Francisco and drafted the wide receiver Brandon from Arizona State. I do think it's a good move. The 49ers, obviously, as you guys probably heard, they just traded Marquise Godwin. So this was obviously somebody that they wanted to fill his shoes, and it was a good trade for them. I didn't really look into much as this pick because I didn't really think the 49ers were going to do that. That kind of caught me off guard. But I do think it's a good move moving forward. Apparently, Jimmy G is very high on this guy. He was one of the people who really wanted to get him. So I think it was a good trade by Minnesota. For the 49ers to get that pick. So I definitely think he's going to come in and get some minutes pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and especially for what the Vikings kind of had planned, it ended up working out really well for them. But
Yeah.
I had probably the most controversial, surprising, probably the pick everyone remembers of this draft.
Yeah.
At least number-wise, 26. And originally, this was Miami's pick when we were drafting originally for this mock draft, and I had them taking DeAndre Swift as a running back. They needed some running back help. Obviously, they had Jordan Howard, but Jordan Howard by himself is not going to help a team win. So I had them taking DeAndre Swift, but in reality, the Packers had this pick via trade, and they end up picking a quarterback, which is crazy because they have Aaron Rodgers, which drew the whole Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Packer fan base world by storm, but ends up getting a response from Aaron Rodgers. And we have this going feud now in Packer land. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Honestly, I thought it was terrible. It was ridiculous. Aaron Rodgers literally led this team with his only option, really, Devontae Adams, to a 13-3 record in an NFC title game. They're one or two receivers away from really winning a Super Bowl. So this is what they needed. And Rodgers thought going into this draft, like everybody else in the world, they're just going to draft some wideouts. 27 were drafted, like we talked about earlier, and the Packers got, 0. So I just thought it was ridiculous, especially Love might not even play for the next 4 years because Rodgers plans to play till he's 40 and he's only 36. So I think Love is a great talent. He deserves to be on a different team. It was just a bad pick, especially by a team that's really on the cusp of winning a Super Bowl.
A lot of people are comparing like his being picked to Rodgers being picked, but at the same time, when Rodgers fell to Green Bay, he was projected to be the number one pick,
Right?
And he was like the top quarterback out of that draft class. So that comparison doesn't really work with Jordan Love because Jordan Love was like the 4th or 5th quarterback ranked in this draft class. So if you're trying to plan for the future, why are you getting the 4th or 5th best draft class?
Exactly.
I mean, even though I love Utah State, I went there back in 2012. Like, come on.
I just don't understand it. I mean, you look at the articles that have come out today about how, you got to give LaFleur and, their general manager. Yeah, I don't know how you say it. Gunst, I don't know. Packers GM credit for their courage in this draft. But I honestly, I think they had, I'd say, one of the worst first two picks in this draft. They take Jordan Love, who is already a position that's filled by Aaron Rodgers, and maybe we don't know something that maybe Aaron Rodgers is absolutely out. Ironically,
he could,
as many people know, Aaron Rodgers' relationship with his family is very poor. He actually dislikes his brother, and ironically, his brother's name is Jordan. So it's going to be, I guess it's going to be super interesting. But Jordan Love is not going to start right away unless they trade Aaron Rodgers away, and then they trade up to get AJ Dillon, who is not even that good of a running back like in the class. So they take two guys that were below the rankings of everyone, of not even being in the top 5 for some of these like these prospect grades.
Yeah,
so I think it's nuts.
It doesn't make any sense. He's still really, even though he's 36, he's still playing at a high level. This is a guy the past 2 seasons that has thrown under 10 picks in the past 2 seasons combined. Like I just really don't understand it. He even said he felt betrayed and backstabbed, and he should, because he was told that they were going to look for wide receivers.
Yeah.
So
going behind the back of your star quarterback is not a smart idea.
Yeah, I
it's
guess
ridiculous.
I guess like the GM got a second opinion from an unknown source. I don't know.
Sneaky Badger 4 in the chat says Packers will finish last in the NFC North. Mark that down.
All right, I believe that.
Yeah.
I hope so. As a
That's
Lions
awkward.
fan, I would
That's
love
awkward because
Yeah.
you might not be a Packers fan if your name is Sneaky Badger 4. So
Did you guys see that video? Yes, I think might have been beat reporters or someone on ESPN, but one of the guys was saying like, "Yeah, I could see Aaron Rodgers in a Bears uniform now."
that. Oh my
like,
gosh.
Even if they do trade Rodgers, they're not going to trade him to the Bears.
No.
There's
Why would you
no
help
way.
they
that
already
out?
have a quarterback.
No.
They
The
already
Bears
have a
are.
quarterback there.
Well,
You would be helping the Bears make the playoffs instantly.
And Aaron Rodgers is better than Nick Foles, so like that would. I mean, they're really a quarterback away from really doing. They went 12-4 with Mitch, so like.
Yeah.
You mean the GOAT?
He's terrible. He should not be a starter in the NFL. He should be in the
boy. That's your boy, Travis.
He should be in the XFL, and he wouldn't even be one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the XFL. Just saying.
Wow.
Rip the XFL. Can we get an F in the chat for the XFL, please?
Yeah, please.
But,
All right.
I believe we're on 27, right? Pick
Yes.
27.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yes.
and I had Austin Jackson going to Seattle, but in actuality, they picked Jordan Brooks, and I really don't know a whole lot about that guy, but from what I've heard, that's a bit of a reach. What are you guys' thoughts?
I think that is also a reach. I think you're right. I don't know. I think the GM, like both the GM and Pete Carroll there in Seattle, have done a good job drafting. I mean, you look at DK Metcalf, you look at other guys in the past. I think they've done a good job scouting and evaluating. I mean, Texas Tech isn't really known for their defense, but I guess getting a guy who's like was their field general, a sideline guy for them, I guess is I don't know, can't go wrong there. A proven leader and a good player on the field and an even better guy off the field.
I agree.
And it sounded like Seattle really wanted to keep his name really off the charts so they can end up picking him at 27, which is really interesting that they were kind of going that way. And it really just shows that a lot of the times that these GMs and coaches they're gonna pick the player that they want on their teams, not necessarily who's the best on them.
Yeah, I mean, scheme is everything, I think, now in the NFL. Yeah, talent can get you somewhere, but if you have 11 guys all adhering to the same game plan, I think that's pretty tough to beat. And so, I mean, it's just what some people, maybe we don't know stuff about him. Maybe some people, I don't know, maybe they know things that Seattle doesn't know. So that's why this draft is so hard to predict because. I mean, you don't know. What if there's an interview where a guy, secretly like insulted the guy's wife or inadvertently? I don't know. There's so many things that can happen. There's so many variables. How the guy walked in, he's left-handed, right-handed. What color Gatorade's his favorite? I mean, does he smell? Does he? There's anything that happens. I mean, you've heard some crazy stuff come out of the combine with these questions. So.
Yeah.
Anything is possible. Yeah, you're right though. They did try to keep his name like on the down low. I guess they just really liked him though.
Yeah.
I was the acting GM for Baltimore, the 28th pick. I'm a little bit angry myself, fellas. I could have been 2 for 5 on the day. I'm looking back at my notes. I went with the controversial pick with Donovan Peoples-Jones.
That's a tough one right there.
Mainly just for the stream. Just wanted to get those reactions from the chat. But I mean, Patrick Queen, he's gonna really compliment them. I think they were really good last year. They had, I believe, 3rd for most points or for least amount of points allowed, 4th in yards allowed. But I think since him being a linebacker or inside linebacker, he's going to do really good helping them with a run defense. They were ranked 19th last year. I think he's going to do a really great job come in, kind of be one of the forces that they were kind of missing last year. I think he's just going to be a guy who's really going to complement them on that defense and kind of maybe give them a chance to go to the Super Bowl and make it there next year.
Yeah, and for sure, like this is almost like the best case scenario for the Ravens getting Patrick Queen because he's the guy that they've always had in their system. He's the guy that's resembled a big physical threat in the middle of that linebacker core. He's got that Ray Lewis type vibe, that CJ Mosley type vibe, where he's just that centerpiece that the Ravens have always had in their defense. So really, it's just a slam dunk to get him there at 28.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was definitely a great pick by them, and this is somebody that they need on that side of the ball because offensively, we know how lethal they are with Lamar, who obviously won the MVP. And honestly, overall throughout the draft, Baltimore made a lot of good draft picks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I thought that was absolutely what you had to do. Like you mentioned, Joe, they had problems stopping the run. So,
Yeah.
I mean, what better way to either you have to get a guy who plugs the middle as a defensive tackle or a guy at the second level there who can come in and clean everything up. And I think Patrick Queen is that guy for them.
All right, so we've got pick 29.
9. Yeah, that's me. So I know who I said. Jeremy Chang.
Chin.
I think it's
Yeah, so that was wrong. And they decided to not go defense. I was kind of surprised that, I had seen – that was kind of a reach. I don't even think he actually got drafted even in the second round. So that was a big – but they ended up taking Isaiah Wilson, who, like we mentioned earlier, was the guy who had his girlfriend ripped off of him by his mom, stealing the limelight. I don't know how this all works. People are crazy. But he's the other guy on the other side of Andrew Thomas, his counterpart from the tackle position. A mauler, a grinder. He's a guy who's going to pave the way for you, and that's exactly what they do in Tennessee. They run the ball. They don't really pass the ball that much. I mean, they probably will now, maybe, but I think they're just going to help Derrick Henry out even more. So
Yeah.
I think that's a good pick for them.
King Henry. It's going to
King
feed.
Henry, for sure.
And I had the 30th pick in the draft. I said the Packers were going to draft Denzel Mims, my bad.
Me.
And they traded. That would be amazing if his last name was Mims. But they traded it to Miami, and they ended up drafting the cornerback from Auburn, Noah. I keep getting stuck with all the tough
You get
last
these tough names. No, I don't really know why they do.
Igbinoghene.
Yeah,
I think.
I was Noah. No, it's funny. I don't know, but yeah, I keep getting tough with all the tough names. But honestly, a great draft pick by Miami. They need more defense. Obviously, we talked about the Jordan Love trade. This was one of the trades Green Bay did to get him at 26. So that kind of threw me off. And honestly, this draft just it was a lot of things. I was just scratching my head because I didn't see a lot of this coming. I really was feeling confident, but with that, I'm 1 of 5. So yeah, 20% today.
Hey, I've got 0 picks so far.
I don't understand. I'm gonna have to disagree with you. I just don't think this guy was that great of a pick. There's other cornerbacks on the board right now that you could get. I had never this guy is not heard of. You could even get the guy from Iowa right now, at this point in the draft. I think
or Jeff Gladden too, because
you could have got Jeff Gladden. There was just people here that were on the board. I don't know. There were people that were on the board. I don't know. Maybe people evaluate cornerbacks differently. There's obviously different schemes.
I mean, on paper, I completely agree with you because he shouldn't have been gone that high. But maybe in a private workout, press the GM, or like you said earlier, they probably know something we don't. So
Yeah.
It has to be because I don't understand it either.
Yeah. I mean, he had 26 games, and he failed to get an interception. So I understand he's probably a great tackler, maybe. That's what that's what his comp says right here, or his breakdown, a scouting report. But I mean, it's a passing league. It's starting to become a passing league.
That's 2 full college regular seasons without 1 interception.
That's what I'm saying. So that is, and Auburn does. It's not like they don't play in a league that runs the ball that much. I mean,
no.
I mean Georgia maybe, but it's aired out there, and I mean it's not air raid, but it's pretty dang close when you come to the SEC.
Definitely with Tennessee, Florida, Alabama, obviously, and Tua. There's so many
you have so many people.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is what it is.
And the 31st pick was
So we put this to
The
The chat
We
this time
had
is left.
Brian Lewerke going to San
Total
Francisco.
shocker.
And it didn't happen, so
No.
that's kind of nuts.
Wild.
Don't know what happened there.
But that's where Jeff Gladden went to Minnesota. So, Travis, you were right that he was going to Minnesota. It was just at a different spot.
Right. The trade is what got me. I feel like I
Yeah.
could at least been 2 out of 5. So, it
Yeah,
was
so we'll
definitely
give you
good.
2 out of 5.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Pat on the back.
I mean,
There you go.
Gladden is definitely a good prospect for them. I think that as much as it pains me to say this, Minnesota actually did a great job drafting.
It really did.
I think they got Ezra Cleveland, who was offensive lineman. A lineman who could just, I don't know. I just think they found some prospects that fit their system. I'm pissed they got Jefferson. They got 2 guys from LSU who was national champions. So it's not like they're 2 slouches. So
Yeah.
I don't know. As much as it pains me to say, I think Minnesota did a good job.
I think they broke the record for most number of picks in a draft at 15.
Yeah, they did.
That's insane. That's so many picks.
That's a lot. The Lions, we had them, I believe it was 9. And New England had 12 originally, but they traded a few.
Right.
Yeah. So the last pick we had was Rodrigo Blankenship going to Kansas City, thanks to the chat. But in actuality, we have Clyde Edwards-Helaire going to Kansas City. And from what I've heard, he's a really speedy, fast, jukey kind of guy, which, that's Kansas City.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's like the perfect guy for them. I think it fits right in there with what their offense is and their mantra and their philosophy. Clyde was a stud for the playoffs and his year at LSU. So I mean, rightly so. He deserves to be drafted in the first round. I know you have to be really good to be a running back to be drafted in the first round. I think Clyde fits that bill here.
I think it makes the Super Bowl champion that much dangerous. He's going to be a great compliment to Damian Williams, and I mean Kansas City is going to be a threat definitely. And he obviously, like you said, Bear had a great career, and LSU shows you how great that national title team was. So many guys drafted just in the first round.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Absolutely.
So here's a quick question for you guys: what do you think Kansas City will be like? Are they going to be like the Patriots have been for the last 2 decades, or do you think they have a couple good years and then just fall out?
I think. Go ahead.
Are you sure?
Okay. All right. So basically, I think you're going to be able to keep the offense intact. The problem is you're going to have people on the defensive side of the ball, and it always comes down to this. You see some of these things happen. Miami's dynasty in basketball, for example, they didn't want that. No one, and not everyone could get paid, so everyone wanted to go get money. I think this is going to be the problem here. Like they're going to have to pay at least 3 guys who are going to have on 5th option next year on the defensive side of the ball. Those who were Pro Bowlers or first team All Defense. So I just think the offense is going to be fine. They have Mahomes still on his. They've signed him. So they have some people who are still on their rookie contracts that are decent, but I think you're going to have a problem on the defensive side of the ball where people are going to beg and beg and beg and want all this money, and they're not going to get it, and then eventually you're going to have to leave. I mean, we're talking about a team that had a cap space of $107 left in it or something like that. Like they don't have any money.
Barrett, you honestly make a great point. Somebody's going to have to end up taking a pay cut for them to keep this going. But honestly, to answer the question, I think Patrick Mahomes is what's going to be if they become a dynasty. I think he can be. He has potential. I'm not saying he is, but he has potential to be one of the top 5 quarterbacks to ever play this game. Just his arm talent and accuracy. Besides Aaron Rodgers and maybe another guy, we haven't seen no one throw off like the run with his amount of accuracy. So with him only being 24, the main thing is keeping him healthy. I do think they can win 3 to 4 championships with Patrick Mahomes.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think that's right. If they just keep the defense, then or at least maintain it to some sort of level.
Yeah, definitely.
They're not. I mean, I mean, they weren't really worried about a defense a couple of years ago, but now they've had some success on defense. I mean, they're not a shutdown. They're no steel curtain. They're no the Bears,
Yeah.
I mean, but it's just enough for Patrick Mahomes and company to go score 5 touchdowns in a game. So,
Yeah.
Literally.
If they can
it
make
is what
2
it
stops
is.
in a game, they win.
Basically.
If Jimmy G makes that pass in the Super Bowl, they lose that game. So the defense, I agree, Barrett has to get better. And he barely missed Emmanuel Sanders, so that could have,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you guys have any other thoughts about the draft?
I have one. I really don't understand the Jalen Hurts falling so low to the Eagles. I don't understand why the Eagles get him. You already have Carson Wentz, who's only 28. And you just said he's going to be your guy because you had to make a decision between him and Nick Foles, who won a Super Bowl and Super Bowl MVP, who's going to be the guy moving. Then you draft Jalen Hurts. So I don't know if they want to give more competition to Carson Wentz to kind of put some fire under his butt, to make them perform better. But he's coming off of a great season, 4,000 passing yards, 28 touchdown passes, only 7 interceptions, with really nobody because his top 3 receivers got hurt. So Hurts, to me, should be on a different team, and he should have been drafted higher, so that was a surprise.
I saw that they were thinking about doing a 2-quarterback system. That was only a couple articles that I saw that I was reading, but I mean, I kind of agree with you, Travis, about how they might try to give Carson maybe a little bit of competition, try to set him apart. But I mean, I really don't know why. I mean, he's a good quarterback. He had a great season, like you said, Travis. But I feel like I agree with you, Travis. I feel like Jalen's talents could be used on a different team. I feel like they're going to be wasted in England or in Philadelphia, not.
Who had a worse draft, the Packers or the Eagles?
I think the Packers.
Packers, definitely.
I just don't think they filled. I mean, they obviously filled some needs on their team,
Maybe.
but not the immediate ones.
No.
Yeah, you need all you really need is a wide receiver. Their defense was a problem for years. That's why people said Rodgers couldn't get back to the Super Bowl. They fixed their defense. You went 13-3, 1 game away from the Super Bowl. Then you draft one of the top 5 quarterbacks projected in the I don't understand.
Yeah.
The only good pick I see here is really John Runyon, who's a stud from Michigan, who already has family bloodlines that run into the NFL, and was a solid guard at Michigan. I know it's biased, but the tight end they took, not that great. The Kamal Martin guy from Minnesota, not that great either. I don't even there's needs here. I'm looking at the board right now. There is significant needs. That's their top need is a wide receiver. And they didn't fill it, which is crazy.
It's such a wide receiver heavy draft too.
Yeah. It's not. It's you don't have an excuse. Blows my mind.
How do you pick 0 wide receivers when 27 are taken? I don't. If I was a Packers fan, I would be furious.
Yeah, I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
To answer your question, Packers. I think they had a worse. I think they had a worse draft. I thought personally from the Detroit, I thought this was Quinn's best draft.
Absolutely.
I thought all around. I mean, there was. I think the only head scratcher I had was Quintez Cephas, which was the receiver out of Wisconsin. I'm sitting there, fingers crossed, that we take DPJ or KJ Hill. But, I mean, I understand Cephas. I mean, he had some off-the-field issues. But I think Darrell Bevel, our offensive coordinator, he had colleagues up there in Wisconsin. And they said, hey, this guy's the real deal. And the off-the-field issues was not really his fault. So, I don't know. I thought we did an absolute great job getting Swift, Aquara, Jackson. I'm seriously excited. I know I say this every year, but I think this has been one of the best drafts in a long time.
For sure.
I absolutely agree with it.
I think.
But no, go ahead, Travis.
My bad. You go.
No, you're good.
Okay. I thought overall it was a good draft, but you guys know me. I wanted a quarterback, and we didn't get one, so I was disappointed. I think it was pick 166. I was watching this yesterday in my living room. Jake Fromm was right there, and we did not draft him. And
Yeah.
we let the Bills draft him, and they already have Josh Allen. I just
What
thought
did you hear?
Yeah, what did you
hear
guys-
why?
I don't know why. That's why I really thought Jake Fromm would have made the most sense. He's a Georgia guy like Stafford. He can play on him. And I really don't understand why the Bills got him. Maybe, I don't know. I really didn't even expect him to be there in the 5th round, but that was the only thing. But besides that, I definitely agree with you guys. If I had to give him a grade, I think it was a B+ for the Lions. It was definitely better than years before overall.
Yeah. I'd say A-, B+ range. The reason Fromm didn't get picked is because the label was put on him is that he's not coachable. Like he's
not?
like no, he's like very stubborn. Like you even saw for those who watched QB1, which is a documentary that takes these prospects, you know what I'm talking about. He used to be super stubborn with his dad about, not even like taking care of his body, like drinking fluids. If something just falls on my floor, about drinking fluids and like taking care of your body. He used to cramp up all the time because he wouldn't listen to trainers about, hey, take care of your body during like these 2-a-days in high school. And I guess that's just translated all the way through. That's the same thing with the kid from Easton, the guy out of Washington. He just was like lack of accountability and, not coachable and not a very good leader. I mean, so I'm assuming Chris Mortensen just came out and said like he just has some character issues, and that's one of you can have a great player, but if he's not going to be fully committed to you, there's no point in having him.
Yeah, I was definitely
That's surprising, honestly. Because you'd think he'd be more. I mean, he's a freshman that brought him to. Was it the national championship?
Yeah,
he brought him there. You'd think that he would be at least kind of a coachable player, but I don't know. Maybe that fueled his ego a little bit, made him so he didn't think he needed the coaches that much. But you'd think having success so early on in his college career that maybe he'd be more sought after in the draft.
Yeah,
for sure.
mean, he definitely lost a lot of people after that national championship run. He lost Gurley, and then he lost 2 studs on the defensive side of the ball. So, I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, at least he got drafted in the NFL draft. I mean, can't take that away from him. But
I think it'll give good competition to Allen too. I think just bringing a new face as well,
and have a good backup too.
Nathan Peterman.
Yeah, I mean, they were they even made the playoffs last year and should have arguably won that playoff game. That was a really good game between them and Houston, that wild card game. But I mean, yeah, they probably just want to give Allen some competition. So, I'm happy for him. He got drafted. I would just like to see him in Detroit.
Yeah,
but also
interesting.
I do want to give one shout out our very own Ferris State football player. He wasn't drafted, but he did sign with the NFL team yesterday, Atlanta Falcons. Shout out to Austin Edwards, great defensive end from Ferris State. You guys, any thoughts on?
Well, as a Falcons fan, it always is fun to see people who I know go to that team. So I'm pumped about it.
Yeah,
me too.
We were talking about it before we went on air. I tweeted out that rumors had it that he had signed with Detroit. And I guess they hadn't inked the deal yet, and someone had like prematurely launched the thing, and I followed along with that prematurity and tweeted out, congrats, signed to the Lions. Come to find out 20 minutes later, I guess the Falcons gave him a better deal. So but it's awesome to see that a guy from Ferris who was a stud here at Ferris State can, make it in the league despite being at D2, which isn't the highest level of collegiate football, but is still to make an impact in the NFL. I mean, as long as you work your way into a team, into a rotation, defensive line is, a great way to. You don't have to be a stud, but if you're a solid guy, you can definitely make it in the NFL.
I think it's very cool. Like, somebody we got to see around campus in Barrett, working with athletics, sometimes being around these guys. So, so it's pretty cool, like, to see. Like, it's definitely cool. He's the 11th player from Ferris under Nice to make the NFL, so it shows you our program's growing. And not only Ferris, other D2 players are getting a chance to play in the NFL, so it's just really cool to make it.
D3 as well. There was also one D3 player that was drafted as well.
Okay.
Yeah, which is, crazy. You don't really expect talent like that, from the D3 level to make it into the NFL. I know there has been some people who go get undrafted free agent signings who were D3 or D2, but it's very significant to see someone drafted at the D2 level. There was a safety from Lanier Rain University, which is a D2 in Massachusetts. So, it's crazy, but I think it's even crazier that we were around him and he's able to, now he's he's in Atlanta at the facility. So I think it's just interesting.
Definitely.
Sure.
And we're starting to see more of a trend too with D2 guys like Tyreek Hill, one of the best receivers in the league, played Division II football. Adam Thielen, he also played Division II as well. So it's pretty cool.
For sure. Well, if there's no one else has any thoughts, I think that's probably it.
Sounds good to me, man.
Sounds good. Thanks for having us back on.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for putting this together, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya. Be safe.
Be safe.
Wash your hands.